Welcome to the Learning Lab. My name is Roman Garcia. What we're going to be discussing today in this volume is the squat. The squat is an exercise that's routinely done in the gym. It's very common with routines of the lower extremity. And I'm going to show you why the squat is not a particularly healthy exercise to do for most individuals. And I'm going to do that purely just by explaining to you and showing you anatomically and mechanically why the squat is bad for the knees. My theory is based on these biomechanical examples that I'm going to show you of why the squat is not healthy for anybody that does it over a prolonged period of time. And I'm going to use different examples and different means of showing you why it is such. But first of all, I want you to get a view of what the meniscus is and what it is that it actually does. But for me to show you that, what I did is that I made a copy of a human dissection of the knee joint. Now, Carlos, if you come over here, you can show this to the folks out there. This is a picture of the right knee. You're looking at it straight down onto the knee. This is the right knee. So what you're looking at is, in essence, is a individual's right knee. You're looking at it downward, from the top down. This is the inside part of the knee. This is the outside part of the knee. This is the front. This is the back. I'm going to show you these dimensions in a real human individual with my assistant Anna. But basically what you've got is the inside. In medical jargon, the inside of the knee is called the medial. The outside is called the lateral. This structure right here is the meniscus. This is the medial meniscus. This is the lateral meniscus. All the meniscus is a piece of cartilage that lies in between the lower leg bone and the upper leg bone. It lies in between. Now, anatomists have always professed that the meniscus, what it does is it provides a mechanical support for the knee as an individual walks, bends, etc. Now, what you've got here, as you can see, is the medial meniscus, the front, the back, inside of the knee, outside of the knee, the front, and the back. Now, you can see how red this portion is of the meniscus. That's because it's saturated with blood. Now, the interesting thing is, and I'm going to show you now, the interesting thing is that when somebody performs a knee bending activity, no matter if you do it in the gym or you do it outside of the gym, in work, in your garden, at work, whatever, when anybody bends down or does a knee bend, what is commonly called a squat, what happens is this posterior or the back part of the meniscus gets pinched. Now, I have the luxury of being exposed to many MRIs, and let me show you how many MRIs I've seen throughout my whole career. Carlos, if you allow me. This box is full of MRIs. The knee is a very common joint in the body to have traumatized. So a lot of these MRIs are of the knee themselves. Now, through the years, if I've been working, I get to see these MRIs myself. Now, an interesting pattern has developed. As I was observing and I was reading these MRIs, this consistent description of knee meniscus damage was being illustrated or described on the MRIs. Now, what I did is randomly, I just stuck my hand inside that box and I picked out 20 knee MRIs. Now, the interesting thing was this was a random selection. These are the 20 right here. Now, all these individuals had knee pains and they had subsequent MRIs to try to define what the problem was. Now, the interesting thing is that of these 20s that I picked out randomly out of those thousands of MRIs, half of these 20 MRIs that came back with meniscus damage or structural defect, all were described as having that defect in this portion of the meniscus, the posterior or the back. This is the most susceptible portion of the meniscus to damage. Now the question is why? Why do these meniscus always get damaged in the posterior side of the region of the knee? Why is it always the posterior? These others that showed a healthy meniscus, the knee defect was something else aside from the meniscus. But these that demonstrated meniscus damage or tears, they were not in the front, they were not on the side, they were always in the posterior. So it's obvious from this pattern of damage that the most susceptible portion in a human's knee, the meniscus portion, to become traumatized is the posterior side. Now, all of these individuals are manual laborers. They work out on the streets. So you have to think that a lot of their job functions have involved some level of squatting. Now remember, they're all manual workers, so most of them do have some level of squatting to perform their job functions. Could there be a connection between knee bends and trauma to the posterior side of the meniscus? Which made me think, is the squat in the gym an exercise that simulates those types of movements that make the posterior meniscus susceptible to trauma? So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to give you an example of a squat with my assistant helping me. So you can see how when she performs this squat, the surfaces of the knee joint converge onto the posterior side of the knee, which is why my theory is that squatting as one of your primary exercises to be done in the gym is not a good idea, because you are exposing the most susceptible part of your meniscus, the posterior side or the posterior area, to a converging stress. And like anything involving exercises, you always have to evaluate the exercise on a risk-reward ratio. Anything that you do in the gym that you are not getting paid for, it always has to be, the ratio has to be on the reward side. The exercise has to be healthy for you. You cannot compromise your knee or your shoulder or any other part of your joint for the benefits of the exercise. But first, let me show you now an actual squatting event with my help of my assistant. Now what she's going to do is, actually, stay seated here. Siéntate aquí. Stay seated here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that area where an individual... No, you can relax. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark when anybody squats where the stresses converge. Now, this right here is the posterior side of the knee. That is this area here. Carlos, you can go back to the picture. This is this area right here, the posterior. This is all the posterior right here. So I'm just going to mark it. So when Anna performs the squat, you'll see the surfaces converging onto the posterior side of the knee. So this is the posterior. This is where the posterior meniscus is. Now, what she's going to do is she's just going to perform a squat. Okay, Anna? No. She's just going to squat. She's going to do a traditional squat as done in a gym environment. Go ahead. Okay. Come up. Ven para arriba. Alrighty. Now, again, as she's squatting, this posterior side of her knee is carrying the entire weight of her body. This front part of her knee is in space. There's no contact there between the joint surfaces. Do it again. Hazlo otra vez. Again, you can see the marker that I put. Go up. Alrighty. Now stand over here. Now do it again. Again. Go up. Ve para arriba. Alrighty. Again, this is a posterior. Go down again. Again, you can see the entire weight of the body is being supported by the posterior surface of the knee joint. This part here in the front is not making any contact whatsoever. This posterior meniscus right now is being pinched. Okay, go up. Perfect. Sit over here. Now come back over here. Now I'm going to show you in a different species, but it pretty much it represents the knee joint, the human knee joint pretty well. This is a chicken joint. This represents the knee joint of a chicken. Alrighty. Now, when Anna did the squat, basically what's happening is this. This right here that you're seeing, this portion right here, that is this. So imagine it like this. This is the inside, this is the outside. This is the long bone. This is the femur bone. If you can come back here, this portion right here represents this portion right here, the femur bone. And this portion right here represents the tibia. And then you got the knee joint in between. Now, when Anna does a squat, basically this is what's happening. She goes down like this. Only the posterior side of the knee joint is being exposed to the weight-bearing load. When she comes up off the squat, it goes back like this. She goes down, she goes into the squat, it goes, and only the posterior side. This portion right here. This is my theory. That's why any activity, including the squat, or any activity that involves an individual going into a squatting pattern, the posterior side of the meniscus is susceptible to tearing. And we've got examples of it over and over and over again with these manual workers who are bending as part of their job functions. I don't think it's accidentally. There's a clear pattern here. Now, the question is, should you voluntarily, without getting paid, perform an activity whose risk is much greater than the reward that you get from the activity itself? So in my opinion, unless you're not able to monetize the activity itself, you have to be very careful, because anytime that you go into a squat position, you are intentionally compressing, squeezing the posterior meniscus, and that is the most susceptible part of the knee joint itself. So if you are involved in a gym activity, if your leg routine involves squatting every single time that you do leg exercises, you need to reevaluate that portion of your routine. Now, the interesting thing is that if you go on to other public domains, YouTube, or if you speak to personal trainers, athletic trainers, etc., they believe that the squat is a fundamental exercise that needs to be done in order to maintain the function of the individual as they get older. I think that is false thinking. I think that is dangerous thinking. My idea is contrary to that. There are many ways you can strengthen the musculature of the lower extremities without compromising the posterior meniscus. Now, if anybody sees this video, it doesn't agree with my position, I gladly recommend that you put your thoughts down onto our video and just voice your idea on it. Make your voice heard. Contact us on the video. If you disagree with our position, I'll be more than gladly to debate this issue with you. Again, till next time, have a great day. Thank you.